Hello, and thanks for watching another episode of ARFCOM News, your twice-weekly dose of the finest 2A propaganda. Even in the authoritarian hellhole of Washington state, people need and use guns for defense. Some nutter in Spokane got all stabby at an apartment complex before he ran into a guy who had a wireless hole puncher.
Taking out the trash.
Unfortunately, before Stabby McStabberson made his date with Darwin, he encountered other people. He tried to stab one woman who was rescued by another woman who pulled her into her apartment. Then he caught up to a different man who wasn't as lucky, and he gave that guy a critical hydraulic failure. Finally, he ran into the man walking his dog, and that's the guy who did Darwin's work. But if it wasn't such a pain to acquire and carry a gun in Washington, it's quite possible that man who got stabbed never would have been stabbed.
Imagine the possibilities.
This effeminate twerp, who looks like he wants to explain middle-out encryption to you, is the governor of Washington, Bob Ferguson. He hates you and wants you to bleed out slowly in a cold ditch somewhere. Because exactly 1 week after that man was stabbed to death, Ferguson signed a bill which forces people to get a permission slip before you can even buy a gun. Bear in mind, you have to do a background check anyway when you buy a gun. Courts are kind of all over the place on permits to purchase, depending on the circuit, but you can guarantee suits will be filed and there could be an injunction in place before the law even takes effect this May. In the meantime, if you want to tell Ferguson he's a turd, you can call him at 360-902-4111.
Fart in your general direction.
But hey, it would be impossible for us to produce quality 2A propaganda without sponsors. So let's pay some bills. Today's video is sponsored by Vortex. The Vortex Defender line features a constant on emitter with no flicker and shake awake, so it's always ready. The Defender CCW is impressively compact for daily carry, the ST is a bit larger, and the XL is an absolute beast with one of the largest windows available on a micro dot. And now, all three are available with a green reticle. And by Springfield Armory. Imagine a 9mm carbine with roller delayed action just like Kraut Space Magic. Now imagine it didn't have garbage ergonomics. The revolutionary new Kuna from Springfield Armory lets you have that roller delayed smooth recoil you're looking for, but it also gives you a reversible, non-reciprocating charging handle and absolutely everything. Montana has officially banned red flag laws. Kind of. Governor Greg Gianforte signed HB 674 into law, prohibiting state and local enforcement of red flag orders. The move was hailed as a win for due process and the Second Amendment, and to be clear, it is. But let's not pretend we've reached the promised land. This is a law which bans the enforcement of a type of law which doesn't actually exist in Montana. It's like passing a resolution against shark attacks in a mountain lake.
How to survive a Sharknado.
Appreciated, I guess, but maybe a little premature. Worse, it is a law banning future laws, which if you don't know how laws work, you can always make another law.
We pretty much just make it up as we go along.
Still, there is some value here. The Slippery Slope Prevention Act makes it clear that Montana will not help feds enforce red flag orders, and it preempts cities and counties from passing similar statutes. At least, not until the legislature changes its mind anyway, which of course they could do, anytime they want. If and when they do change their minds, it won't be cops and politicians who pay the price. It'll be the guy who answers his front door with a shotgun having no idea his ex-wife called the hotline. Red flag laws don't prevent violence, they stage it. We've said it before and we will say it time and time again. If someone is legitimately dangerous, the last thing you want to do is send armed agents of the state to their home to surprise confiscate their weapons. That's not conflict avoidance, that's conflict scheduling.
My God, okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm.
Red flag laws take volatile situations, inject state violence, and hope for the best. Rather than arresting a supposedly dangerous individual, you're gonna steal some of his guns and just hope he didn't hide some in the backyard. Just hope the encounter didn't anger him. Just hope he doesn't have access to motor vehicles and stabby things or pool chemicals. Just hope he doesn't buy a gun off a crackhead. Just hope he doesn't print one. To quote my favorite YouTuber, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down here, when you seize the guns instead of the theoretically dangerous person, you are not just violating their rights, you're leaving them with access to countless other means to hurt people, and you just gave them a really good reason to go through with it. On the other hand, if this person truly is as dangerous as you say, then arresting them and having them assessed gives them precisely the due process which is denied by red flag orders while protecting the public from any weapons they could possibly get their hands on.
That would make way too much sense.
Despite all the legislative theater, Montana's message is meaningful though. Don't bring that nonsense here. And even if this law is just a speed bump on the road to the next political reversal, it is a speed bump worth having because it sends a message to gun-adjacent businesses who are looking to flee places like Washington, Colorado, and other authoritarian states that Montana is a safe harbor. For decades, the feds have argued that silencers are not arms and therefore not protected by the Second Amendment, so there is no limit to the bureaucratic obstacles they can place in your way. But late last week, they reversed course. Mostly. Kind of.
Mostly.
Now the federal government admits in Peterson versus Garland that silencers are indeed arms, but they argue the NFA's restrictions impose a modest burden on our constitutional rights. That argument might be appropriate for an interest balancing test, but SCOTUS ruled the standard of review for 2A involved cases should not be interest balancing or even strict scrutiny. The text, history, and tradition standard, which was imposed by the Bruin precedent, goes even beyond strict scrutiny. There can be no balancing of a modest impediment against public need. If the law infringes in any manner, and if the founders didn't have a similar law, the court must find the law unconstitutional. By that text, history, and tradition standard, even provisions which really were modest, like, asking a person to promise not to do anything bad, that would still be unconstitutional. But the current NFA restrictions are anything but modest. To acquire a silencer legally, you have to fill out a stack of paperwork, submit fingerprints and a passport photo, pay $200, and wait who knows how long for lazy bureaucrats to put a stamp on your paperwork. All at your own expense, of course. It's not remotely modest.
I don't believe you.
And while it's neat they finally admit cans are protected by the 2A, it's an empty victory with them insisting it's still okay to infringe. It seems obvious this change follows from President Trump's directive to stop vigorously defending unconstitutional laws, but the feds are clearly recalcitrant. And if Trump won't just summarily fire these people, they are never going to comply with his orders. And yes, I'm aware there is bound to be some true believer down there in the doobly-doo arguing the feds took this position because they really want to lose the case. Because they want the court to rule that even modest provisions are unconstitutional. But that's pants on head stupid. Because if that is really what the feds wanted, then, they would have argued that. Naturally, the FPC's team of malnourished but aggressive assault attorneys will have no trouble rejecting the notion that a $200 tax and a months-long wait time qualify as modest. This isn't a complete win, but it is a seismic crack in the government's wall of justifications. The feds now admit what they just denied mere months ago. Silencers are arms. That fact alone reshapes the entire battlefield. And now, for your moment of zen. Hello, friend. Do you like pews and pew-related things? Would you like to help us keep delivering you pure American pew bargains at the low price? We literally couldn't pay the bills without our sponsors, so do us a solid and get yourself something nice from them. You deserve it. I love you.